Okay, wonderful. It's a pleasure to be here at the Samsung Galaxy Tab S9 series front lawn.
Jaipur Literature Festival.
Oh, yes, of course. And pleasure to be here in conversation with all of you. And without further ado, let's get right into it, Sarthak. What would you characterize the shade of your goatee as? Is it aquamarine?
You see,
Would you say it's a burnt turquoise?
it is an astounding bit of marketing technology by some marketing minion who thought paradise spelled P-A-R-A-D-Y-E-S would be a lovely idea.
Wonderful.
And somebody approved it, and voila, it landed on my beard.
Paradise is wonderful.
Paradise is wonderful.
The blue curacao color. Yes.
They're not here for me, Kanan. If you could tell us who you're here for, maybe can we have like the woo Kanans, which have been, yeah, exactly.
Please.
Please, he's very humble, so little louder one more time with feeling, please. Wow, Kanan, you have a...
It's almost as if you asked them to do it.
So, act of God.
Yes.
Voices in your head coming out on paper.
Yes.
Right after Voices in Your Head have come out on mobile phones, tabs, iPads, big screen,
Public
everywhere.
restrooms, yes.
There's, of course, the silences, which you use so effectively in your work, which do not translate so well on paper.
Yeah.
Comedic science fiction. There's some very illustrious predecessors to that. Big names like Douglas Adams and Terry Pratchett, etc. Were you into that? I mean, is there an inspiration for this, or is this just literally an act of God?
I would say it's more akin to an act of God. There's no specific source that I draw from. And in fact, I don't read as much sci-fi as I read about 1:1. I read one book, write one book. However, I do believe that everything that goes in somewhere comes out somewhere. So I wouldn't say that this is without its influences. Douglas Adams, obviously, everyone would be lying if they said they came near a copy of Hitchhikers.
Yeah.
And just weren't sold by a trilogy in 4 parts more than anything else. I always set out to write, so this is the first novel being published. There will be many more. And I always set out to write a farce in that respect, like something entirely absurd. Because I love Hitchhikers, but it is not about character development. Every situation they're in is uniquely hilarious. And because of that, the characters can just stay nice and flat until the end, except for the 4th book, and Arthur Dent gets a little romance scene.
Absolutely.
Very absurd.
I think the improbability drive was for the ages, wasn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. So while setting out to always write a full-on farce, I always find myself stumbling and falling into a very deep character story. I know this is being sold to you by the geniuses at HarperCollins as comedic sci-fi. And it is that. I would say it is soft sci-fi. Sci-fi adjacent. To the only extent that, only reason I'm addressing this is do not, if you aren't the sort of person who normally reads sci-fi, don't let this be a prohibitive label that stops you from getting into it. I do believe that whoever you are, you can take something from the book. It is by design, hopefully, if I'm not sounding arrogant, by design not strictly sci-fi. It's a human story. Now I'm making it sound boring. And I think whatever you do, the most important thing from me for you, is that you purchase at least 10 copies. And then after that, it's, the world's your oyster.
Yeah, you want to read it, great. If you don't, 10 copies are gone anyway.
Makes a great paperweight.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's wonderful. Small book for the smallest room, as Stephen Fry once said.
Yes.
It's a lovely place. It's also heavy going for the first 4 chapters. It was difficult. It was like, wow, Kanan makes us laugh. And then, oh, wow. Kanan's a heavy writer. I'm pretty much at the end of the 4th. And you've promised me that it gets easier from there. So everyone who's there, soldier on is what
Okay, no need to say soldier on and all, like it's that abstruse. I do want to say it's been told to me by readers. The problem is the difference in between doing stand-up and writing fiction is that stand-up is high risk, high reward. If something is tough or bad, you know immediately if it's good or if it's bad. In this, you work with editors, sure, and your publisher. But really what people think, you receive it, after the book comes out. Book has only been out for 10 days, but I have been told at Kerala Lit Fest, whose name we shall not speak beyond this point, that it can be a little dense, it's a little top heavy, but do soldier on and you will find your efforts rewarded.
Also, it'd be great to find out. I mean, when I was reading the book, the delusion of the internet is that proximity to someone you are watching becomes very, very real. So every one of us owns a piece of you, don't we? I mean, for me, there is a cow, how do you cross, is something that I keep telling my wife every time.
In what situation?
Cars, mainly cars.
All right.
You use silences extremely, extremely effectively in your stand-ups. There is your voice, and then there is the silences. In the book, there is no silence. You are literally demanding that the listener, that the reader, imagine your voice, then imagine the silences, because what you have an ellipse or you have 3 points of suspension. What's your process of writing versus writing?
Okay, so it's a very interesting question. There's two different generative mechanisms at play for stand-up and for the written word. Okay, stand-up has to be immediate, and it is predicated on the illusion of spontaneity. Okay, even though if you come to a stand-up comedy performance, it seems like everything is, the show you want to watch is, you feel like a guy is just saying all this right now because he has it all built up inside him. Little do you know, it is a fully prepared act. I can't go and vibe out 2 hours. I need to know what I'm talking about because you deserve to have a good time sometimes. Not always, and not always at Litfest. But, however, there is a different mechanism at play when you write the written word. When you say stand-up, it's best if it comes out as speech. I think a lot of comics will say, if you ask about process, is that a joke is best given birth to on stage while saying it. If you write it down, you've lost some of the magic already. When comics are newer, you can tell when someone has written down a script and memorized it and is saying it to you, because there is there's an invisible barrier that they have erected between them and the audience. So the more experience you get, you can just create stand-up on stage and refine stand-up on stage. So the editing process is live and the feedback process is live. For the written word, I think most people, there's a different mechanism at play. When you start writing, a different voice gives birth to these as the written word. I believe it's a different neural circuit also, and I believe this, like I believe science sometimes. But it seems to be true because I write very differently than how I speak. And that's why you'll find that sometimes very, very literary people who have extreme felicity, great command of prose, can't really string a sentence together because it's not the same mechanism that is working for them. By the same rubric, I think people who talk a lot are not often the best writers, which is why it's, I guess, I really do understand, I am aware, it's easy to dismiss a book written by a comic, which is why I am at every Lit Fest making my case. However,
and to pick up the book and show it.
Yeah, however, to answer your question directly, it is the rhythm of the written language and how a joke plays out in text is entirely different from how it plays out when you say it to someone, although the mechanism by which it works is still the same. People delight in unexpected places and in the element of surprise fundamentally. So that could be your choice of words, you're switching up the rhythm of the sentence or paragraph that you're using, or in this book particularly, where I have gone as experimental as I felt like. So there is a match the following after chapter 1. There's a fill in the blanks halfway through. The book begins with storage instructions for this book. There's an allergen warning. And so in the sense that I believe the form of the novel also is a good fertile ground for comedy as much as the content of the novel.
Sure, but what about the aha moment? Like, I know of a lot of musicians who've played that one lick and then they're like, you've
Yes.
done that. No? Is it the same when you're writing and when, like, do you have like a personal aha moment when you know that, oh, this sounds funny for the book, while this sounds funny for a stand-up joke probably that you're writing? What's the aha moment like?
What's the aha moment like, and as in what's the difference between them?
Yeah, probably.
The stand-up aha moment is you're sitting on a plane like this and you're like, huh, yeah. And now I've been doing this for 11 years, so I know instinctively what's worth trying on stage. For the written word, it's more a process of discovery, often while writing. Sometimes a stray sentence will stroll into your head when you're taking a walk or doing something busy or are otherwise occupied, like you're riding a scooter and your one sensory mechanism is fully at play, controlling the scooter, but your mind is unhinged. And so that way you'll get delivered these lines, but you know this is a line. And I know instinctively, in a way that's hard to articulate, that it will not work on stage. Because another important thing about stand-up is that it's immediate. So that in the sense that I have to use the fewest possible words in the simplest possible language to get the message across.
Sure.
Not because people don't understand slightly more complicated language. You're all smart people. You came here to the Samsung Galaxy Tab S9 presents Jaipur Lit Fest. However, it has to, if I say something in stand-up, it has to immediately, without processing, get captured by your soul. Okay, you can't think that and stip and think about what this particular bit of witty wordplay means.
Yes, of course.
So witty wordplay is entirely lost in live performance.
Sure.
However, those are the liberties you do get to take when you write the written word. And I was writing fiction specifically, okay, but I guess non-fiction, but writing down the funny word way before I did stand-up. And so I am equally comfortable with both.
Sure.
I will make this bold claim.
Why not?
Easily verifiable for the price of
yeah.
399 rupees.
Yeah, I mean, how much? How much did you
Only 399.
Only 399, you say?
What a deal.
It's incredible.
Only 1 rupee for the signature. If you want a signed copy, it's 400 bucks.
And of course, less than the price of a coffee, and that comes out. This can stay.
Coffee is 400 bucks.
Yeah, man.
My goodness.
Can you imagine?
What
Also, there's a story that Abish loves to tell about.
Abish Matthew?
Abish
Yes,
Matthew?
yeah,
Abish
a friend of ours.
Yeah. Name dropping.
Yeah.
yes. Abish Matthew tells about Biswa.
Yeah.
Name dropping. That they were.
Biswa, oh,
Biswa.
fantastic.
Oh, yeah. Basically, that they were preparing for a college fest and last minute writing of jokes, etc. And the organizers came in. They started to ask Abish for a photograph. Abish, being the gentleman that he is, was finding it very difficult to sort of say no. But Biswa, immersed as he was in the process, because he does not like to be disturbed, was asked, and he promptly and very robustly got up and said these 4 very, very memorable words, which was "bug, bug, bug, bug." And literally made the organizers run away, after which Abish said that it became very easy for them to prepare for the show because they wanted that peace before they went to the chaos of the stage. Do you have a process? Do you stand in front of the mirror? And because you need to, the spontaneity of it, which you were talking about, is that also a little prepared?
No, once the joke takes birth, then it is codified and set in stone. Like the joke works
Okay,
like this.
so let's first start with the process of what the joke taking birth means.
Joke taking birth means you're struck with the idea. It depends on how complex an idea is. Because stand-up has these guardrails, which according to me, for it to be identifiable as stand-up, it must be funny. The way that it's funny, measured in a live performance, it must elicit laughter. The frequency that I set for this as my personal benchmark is you need a laugh every 7 seconds. So now you have an idea, good, but you got to get to the point fast. In the sense that you're often cutting down syllables also.
7 seconds.
7 seconds, yeah. 7 to 10. Okay, well 10 if you're being generous.
So in your head, when you're performing, every 7 seconds.
Yeah, you watch the show, it's every 7 seconds, yeah. However, when you do that, you really have to distill what you want to say very finely. For my last show that I did, it was called Is This It? I wanted to talk about...
Hold on. Cue for the woo one more time. Is this it? Wonderful, absolutely.
The premise of the show, essentially what it turned out to be, was predicated on the pervasive dissatisfaction with modern life and the impossibility of finding any lasting happiness. And set in the moment that one day you will find yourself in the middle of life asking the question, is this it? Am I in the middle of life already? I was waiting for it to begin at some point. Set in the context of stand-up, I was forced to, with blinders, look at this problem statement and say I cannot expound on the idea of enlightenment as a freedom from suffering in many, many pages or in a way that's serious. I needed to distill it down to its core essentials and got down to the phrase, give up your dreams, death is coming, let's party. And...
Sure.
Which seems reductionist because it is. But that reduction was very important to keep the live audience engaged. And the flip side of that is when you do write fiction, now I can spread my wings entirely. Now I am free to choose the choice of language that I like to, not because it works, but because it's authentic and it needed to be said and address this at the moment. And if I want to expound on any idea that I have or a theory that one of my characters have, which believe me, they have so many, I was free to let that take the space that it needed to take. And that was an extremely liberating experience for me.
Sure, the process of the process of repetition, so to speak. There is a principle in linguistics, which is that if you say one word or one sentence again and again and again and again, it begins to lose meaning in your head. Is that a fear with jokes as well? If you keep repeating it in your head because you're refining it.
It's a very good question, honestly. But I don't know if you want to get into the mechanics of how stand-up comedy works. But you really forget. Often you are left with the words and you forget the emotion or the purpose of the words. And one day you will find yourself on stage like, why isn't this working? This is great. And it's because the audience is always king and the audience can sense. Audience has filters on always for authenticity. This is whether you are watching a performance or you are reading a book. People can smell when something is inauthentic. And even if you can't articulate it in exact terms like a literary critic would do, you know instinctively something is fucking fucked up about this. So to that extent, it's always important to remember why you're saying the things that you're saying as any sort of live performer.
Basically, why I'm asking this is, of course, at the back of my head, I'm very, very afraid that people will come up to me and say, oh, what a boring conversation with Kanan because he wasn't cracking jokes. But the fact is that the process of cracking jokes is a really, really complicated one. It's a process that exercises a lot of pressure on someone. And we don't talk about that often enough because we just laugh and go away, which is why the process is important. And it's important to know the pain. No?
There's two kinds of funny people that all of us know. Okay, you have one person in your friend group who's extremely funny, but in a very exhausting way. They are present and they are always around and they're always making jokes, but after like an hour, you can feel your life force depleting just by proximity around this person. You take them in short morsels, and that's because that person approaching comedy from a place of desperation. Okay, well, that is their social currency. They're like, I will make as many jokes as possible, and so that'll be about me. I'm the guy who makes jokes. And everybody who does professional comedy got their start like that, and very quickly had that deplete. Yeah. Honestly, it finishes.
Sure.
The need to get it finishes. However, there's a second kind of funny, a more enjoyable funny. I don't know, this is a very common occurrence I've seen between the wisest people in the planet, however you consider this, not someone who is possibly intellectually accomplished, but someone who, let's take some sort of monk who has spent 30 years in a cave meditating, and all those people, if you watch their talks, for some reason, everyone who has spent a lot of time investigating the nature of existence, everybody who's very wise is very funny. They seem to always be making jokes around. Now, these are not high-quality jokes, as a professional comedian, I'll say. But they are always making jokes, and that doesn't come from a desperation. That doesn't come from a desire. It comes from a fundamental lightness with which they view the world. Okay, and that is, if you want to be a funny person, and if you want to make funny things, lightness is the goal. Okay, and if you can approach any object with lightness, the fundamental, what underscores this is to not take anything very seriously, including and first and foremost yourself. I believe that comedy and jokes will they sprout out. I've seen it happen. Sure. It's quite a wonderful experience.
Yeah. And what about the experience of people coming to you and spouting your lines back at you? Do you have a specific smile for that? Do you have...
It's quite wild. I often don't believe it. I think they are plants sent by foreign intelligence to get my Aadhaar number. And you shall never get it.
Yes.
Because it was leaked many years ago.
Acha, let's talk about the failed joke. I mean, a minute of silence for a failed joke. You're really excited about it. How many times has that happened? You're really, really excited about a joke. You know this will work in your head, and suddenly, contextually, it just fails.
After this, can we talk about the book?
Yes.
Okay. A
failed joke.
We have not even said what the book is about, and we've been talking for like 30 minutes. Okay. So a failed joke is a par for the course. Can't do anything about it. Obviously with stand-up, high risk, high reward, public failure, has to be public. People have to see you fail. You develop a thick skin. Doesn't hurt you as much, but also set that against your increasing ability over the years. If you put in the time, you have less failures. But they do happen, and you just take a moment's silence. I think with more experience, you can just point to the failed joke and be like, "Ugh, you guys hated that, huh?" And people are like, "Yes, thank you for it. You also knew it was bad, right? Okay, good." And however, if your set is only failed jokes, then that doesn't work. You get a 2 or 3 joke leeway, otherwise new.
Yeah. It's only once that you can step off the pedestal and say, look, I'm one of you. My jokes fail too. Which I think is wonderful because people technically put you on a pedestal as soon as you gain some success and then love to pull you down, which is what it is. You'll never know what a failed joke looks like in a book though, because I mean,
whoa,
you written it. Transition.
Doing
baby.
the links. Okay. You will know what a failed joke looks like in a book because it has to fail personally for you. You are not reading a book as a quorum unless you have a strange book club where you read books out aloud together.
There is one though.
Yeah, that's very strange.
Yeah.
I know one that reads Finnegan Wake like that, but like that's the only way you can read Finnegan's Wake. However, I mean, there's you can have hits and misses in any form. I think in this specific book, I hope it's only hits. I got it checked. I went to S&P 500 and they were like, this book is certified only hits. Not a single stumble on any sentence. Kanan, you rock.
We've all been
exact words.
We've all been taught not to take everything that we read on the internet seriously. So
that's true.
S&P, yeah. But what's your process? I mean, are you a solitary writer or are you like, oh, hello, friend, look, I've written this. What do you think?
You know, there's a desperate desire to, because I'm so used to always looking at the audience for feedback. There's desperate desire to as a writer, I am also the first reader of the novel.
Yeah.
And so while reading the novel, I'm often like, this is fucking great. And no one will see this for 1 year. And that's soul crushing sometimes. Well, I just have to privately know this is very good. Oh, just wait till you get to that one line in chapter 2. Oh, yeah. You're gonna love it.
Maybe in a year. But you're so used to the immediacy of reaction, no? I mean...
very much.
Yeah.
And that's also kind of a relief also to spread my wings and also not constantly be looking out. It's very freeing in many ways to write fiction because your failures are private. Sure. You write a bad sentence, you can delete it and no one has to ever know that you used a dangling participle or whatever the fuck.
But...
However, in more specific terms, before we continue, I would just like to talk a little bit about what the book is about. Just the plot of the book, because I keep forgetting to do this. Like I said, sci-fi adjacent, soft sci-fi, spec fic. Spec fiction is my favorite category of books, fictional fiction. Really, speculation is what fiction means. Anyway, so this at the core of the novel, if you had to explain it to you, I'll explain it to you in 2 ways. One is that it is a cat and mouse game between creator and created. That's your one line that I'll give you. The blurb, the first 2 paragraphs I wrote myself is because I was trying to capture the soul of the book in the blurb itself. I will tell you in one line, I guess, what the book is about. It's a sort of inscrutable and honestly inexplicable, often absurd private detective P. Manjunath from Bangalore, from Manjunath Detective Agency, is on a quest to investigate strange occurrences that he finds around the world. Nobody has asked him to do this investigation. This is his personal thing, like something strange is going on, and I am going to set off on a transnational expedition to figure this out. However, unbeknownst to him, this puts him in the path of who he does not know is the creator of the world, who has created the world to his own nefarious ends. And he has the strange quality of just finding himself, even though he appears to have no skills, ability, or intelligence, like many people we know, he seems to be blessed to always find himself at the right place, at the right time, with the right set of clues. In fact, he turns his antenna onto the world and seems that he only picks up things that are pertinent as clues for his investigation. So basically, the rest of the book unfolds as a cat and mouse game between the creator and created. And if you may allow me to read the very last paragraph of this, which HarperCollins wrote, to advertise some of what the book is about better than I possibly can right now. In Kanan Gill's wildly entertaining and moving debut novel, A Sentient Wall, they had written surprisingly moving. I was like, why surprisingly? Can't you just write moving? A sentient wall struggles with the limits of artistic expression. A lapel pin's habit of always giving truthful advice results in utter chaos. A Danish police officer becomes the enlightened leader of a worldwide group of science haters. And a pill is developed to cure the human condition. A delightful alchemy of humor, imaginatives, and philosophical provocations. Acts of God marks the evolution of one of India's finest comedic voices. Serving size, 32 chapters, 3.5% plot, skimmed. And thank you very much.
This is your cue to please clap a little.
No, it was very insincere.
Except that
This is pure pressure applause. I can tell the difference.
And this surprisingly moving. It's like, oh, acha, Kanan can also move. Wow, it was a little crazy, no?
Yeah, I think a better advertisement actually than the blurb is what I was pushing for and struggling to do, and have been trying to do is advertise that the novel, far more than being about the plot of the novel, is about the experience of reading it. I don't know if if every writer will come here and say this, and you'll be like, yeah, sure, buddy. However, at least in my head, I segregate novels into two large buckets. Okay, there's the prose novel, which is always beautiful and well written and uses language in wonderful ways. And but the plot always, almost invariably, is fucking miserable. It's about sad people being sad for 350 pages, and you would not sell a book like that with the plot, saying like, "Dude, you won't believe there's incest at the end." You're like, "Ah, no, I'm good." They're sad, 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 sad. Then they look at the swelling water and the monsoon, and then they have a lot of inter-family sex. And you're like, you know what? I'm not sold. The experience of reading the novel, however, it will capture you and captivate you. Then there is the plot novel, detective fiction. Then you read a detective novel, and you're like, don't waste 1 minute of my time describing what this building looks like, unless it is a murder weapon. Okay? Just tell me, give me clues, and tell me who done it. Right? Two big buckets for novels. I am trying to take the bold stand of straddling both of these buckets, 1 foot in each. And so in that way, I want to really make a strong case as much as I can for a book is about the process of reading the novel. And if I can be sincere for the next one sentence, writing this novel genuinely was a transformative experience in my life. And what I hope to bottle, the feeling I hope to bottle in the novel is the feeling of catalytic transformation. Okay. And if the novel can accomplish one thing, it is for you, hopefully, best case scenario, to be transformed. And so that's why I feel you should buy at least one copy. I'm saying
$3.99 only.
Take your friend's copy. I'm not going to make any money no matter how many this sells. So take your friend's copy. I would say all I want from you is to give it a chance. And if you do give it a chance sincerely, I hope you will be pleasantly surprised by what you find.
That was sincere, for sure.
Resisting the impulse to make some sort of self-deprecating joke. Like, no, it's good.
Yeah. Make one, no? Tell us a joke, Kanan. Yeah, it took, 30 minutes to come, but it did come. Tell us a joke, Kanan.
Yeah, I tried to write, but I'm touring right now with a stand-up show and a book show. And so the book show I thought I'll do as a book tour where we're just discussing book and process and stuff. But in my head, I was like, how interesting if I write a sort of like one-act play about a person writing a book and as a comedy show, and what that would look like as the second half of the show. And that failed very quickly. It was just not possible. All of my books about process, all the jokes about process seemed like so prohibitive, so niche, and so opaque that it just did not work. I got one very dumb joke, is that reading and writing was invented at the same time. That's all I got. There is no other way it can work.
Intellectual joke at Samsung Galaxy Tab
but
S9
because it has
series.
it's very hard to communicate something what I consider to be precious and pure, and to have to filter that through stand-up as well, I think was a task that is meant for someone other than me.
Is everything content, Kanan? Is everything content? Where are you beginning to look at everything as content, or is there like a definition?
Not at all. If you consciously mine experiences in your life while you're having them, I think it's a recipe for dissatisfaction and of being a miserable person and also real pain to hang out with. I think it takes a very long time to develop trust that your experience, even if you don't keep a journal, even if you don't keep a diary, even if you're not the kind of person who can just tell wonderful stories, that everything that you experience does transform you in a very real way. And so if you are interested, and I'm assuming we have a lot of current and potential writers standing here watching us now. Writers, yes, clap. Way fewer than I thought. But everybody else is like never. So if you really can have trust that whatever is going in, whatever you're going through, will be expressed in the novel in some way or the other. Now, having written this, I finished this in Jan 21, so I've had some distance from the novel. My close friends, when they read it, tell me that you're really laying your soul bare in aspects of this, which was not intentional by any means.
Sure.
And now, having to read the novel with some distance from it, I realize I am forcing these poor characters to process many emotions that I don't, and I won't. And I have put them in situations that I refuse to navigate. And so in that sense, I'm just saying, if you, instead of looking at a difficult situation in your life or a very exciting thing that you went through as potential content while it's happening, I think you can have enough trust that whenever I decide to go and make something, everything is in a catalog somewhere. And whether consciously or subconsciously, you cannot avoid emotional leakage.
Emotional leakage, yeah, for sure. That's important, and there's about 17 minutes left according to the timer. You think it's a good time to open the floor to questions?
Yo, Kanan Gill and Conversation with Sarthak Kaushik, presented by Daily Hunt. We have not said this yet.
Oh my God!
Okay, shout out to Daily Hunt, everybody.
Yo.
Okay, let's go out to the audience,
Yeah.
man.
Okay. Are there questions? Oh wow. Okay, there are some very insistent hands. You choose one, Kanan.
Let's try to keep it about the book. Your choice. You have the mic. Let's try to keep it about the book. Any question to Sarthak is also fine. The more personal, the better. He told me backstage, he was like, I really, really want to talk about my intimate private life.
Insatiable hunger for attention. But please, Kanan.
Yes.
Go ahead, please.
Hi Kanan, hi Sarthak. So my question is, as is mentioned in the blurb of the book, given the alchemy of humor and philosophical provocations in your novel, do you believe that laughter has the power to completely transcend existential dilemmas, or is it merely a momentary distraction from the absurdity of existence?
One sec. Something you said has really upset these birds. I think you've invoked some sort of spirit by this question. Like I said before, I think it's a very interesting question, and thank you for asking it. It is not laughter that you're looking for, but it's really lightness. I think we're all trying to find a path back somehow to not taking life very seriously, because it is an oppressively heavy thing to be burdened with. Your life, fuck, who wants that? Gross. But now we're in the middle of it. And so people seek out things that are funny, because you are actually trying to embody the perspective that these things advertise. You watch a sitcom, and tacitly, subconsciously, the sitcom makes the promise that no matter how bad things get in these 30 minutes, everything would be fine at the end. You watch an episode of however vapid a sitcom, that is the promise that you've caught on to. But really the thing that you're looking for is, can you imbibe the spirit of lightness in your personal life? And there are many paths to that. One of them is reading my novel. Sorry, I had to work into them. And secondly is also to be aware of what it is that you're seeking. And you're seeking to not take this thing very seriously. And I think once you know that, and it's in front of you, presented barely like this, it opens up a lot of doors that you may not have considered otherwise. But thank you for your question.
Who's next?
Nobody from this side. All Sarthak fans this side?
Kanan,
Yes,
one
hi.
question. One observation.
Oh, that's not a question.
You
Okay,
have been surprisingly very funny. HarperCollins thinks you're surprisingly very interesting. And surprisingly, you were very emotional today while pitching your book. What do you have to say to that?
I think you, first of all, have hoodwinked me by saying this was in any form a question. You made one nice setup punchline and said, what do you think at the end? And now what am I supposed to do? I'll say HarperCollins was a surprisingly competent publisher.
Ooh.
Haha, the burn is returned.
Mic drop, baby. Next question.
This question
He's
is
written
about,
it down, Kanan.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
This question is about your writing process,
Yes.
as you mentioned, and every other writer says that the best stuff comes to their mind when they are doing other stuff. Does it mean that you folks are rarely in the present moment? Is your brain thinking of a content right now when you are talking to me?
Dude, honestly, a great question. So, first part of question, what is process? Second part of question, when does creativity? Fair? Okay. Let's start answer the second part first. Okay. If you investigate what happens enough, I think writers, and no disrespect to present writers, allow ourselves in the mythos of being a writer. Page 2 is being allowed to be blocked. And like, oh, I'm not feeling inspiration and not being blocked. And having been in the business for now 11 years and having to write movies and doing stand-up and stuff, I don't have that luxury. I don't. I released the last show and they booked this tour and they said, good luck, asshole, go. And people come expecting things to be better than they were before. And so I've had to spend a lot of time breaking down what is the creative process and how does it work. So essentially what you're talking about is correct. Okay. You want some moment of subconscious disconnection from what is happening. People generally talk about it as being in flow. You can address this concept any way you like, but you need to have a reliable and repeatable mechanism of being patient and non-judgmentally allowing ideas to filter in. Now, when you sit and try to do that, that's one way if you figure that out. The second way is people find themselves when doing chores, because like we were talking about before, or riding a bike, or doing something which your physical, mechanical system is active, you find yourself subconsciously triggered to being in flow. And then the idea streaming begins. And you will find that there is actually no place to stand to have an idea. Ideas simply arrive. And you can either pay attention or not. That's your choice. Second part is process. Process for this novel. Common question for writers is architect versus gardener. Do you plot everything out? Do you make beats before you, and divide it into chapters before you begin? Second one is you plant a seed and let it blossom. This book very much plant a seed and let it blossom. So like you, I spent many years looking for writing advice because it's very good busy work to not write. Second reason is you're looking for someone with some hope that someone has cracked it and someone knows how to do this repeatedly. And if someone has solved the problem of how to write well repeatedly, can you please tell me? So the most reliable method I found after looking at everyone's process is just to set the Stephen King school of have a daily limit under and over. So for this one, I sat down and did 1,000 words every day, no matter what. Minimum 1,000, maximum 2,000. More than 2,000, sit up and go. Get up and go. It's not worth it. And the upside of this process is that it's very reliable. 1,000 words a day, 90 days, that's 90,000 words. That's already. Tough part of the process is making up as you go along means you will have to do several rewrites because you are discovering the novel as the novel progresses. That is the answer to your question. Thank you. I talked for very long. In the middle of it, I was like, am I answering his question or just saying some shit? But
Hello. Yeah. So I watched Is This It? Thrice,
Yes.
And I loved it.
Thank you.
And I loved having an existential crisis while watching it. My question is, judging by the title of this book, will I have an existential crisis after reading it?
will you have an existential crisis? Okay. Yes. Also, if you allow me to be annoying, exactly what do you mean by existential crisis? There's one, okay, she tilted her head back like that. She's like, oh my God, this guy's going to talk about this fucking thing. I saw you, I see everything. She's like, this fucking guy can't answer a question straight. No, I mean, okay, long story short, let me give you the Cliff Notes abrupt answer. There's one pop culture understanding that we have inherited about what an existential crisis means. It is not as in Sarthak, or however you pronounce his name, his novel of sitting on a train and feeling total bodily dissociation and not being sure of what existence is. But a good question to ask is, what is going on actually? Beyond the enterprise of concepts, is there anything more? Can we pull back how many curtains can we pull back to investigate what is really going on? And what are the ways in which we can see that? I think that's a very good way to look at it. And I would always say, instead of using the word crisis, call yourself an existential detective. You are here to peer into the mystery and emerge with a bloody glove and see that that's what it all means. I figured it out. And now, next Litfest, you're levitating above your seat. And that's all I can hope for. Existential detective, far better than labeling or obscuring this thing, calling it a crisis. No, not a crisis. It's fun. It's fun to wonder about why. Grudging, slow applause, really. Almost sarcastic applause.
This is equivalent to a slow clap, isn't it?
Really.
Anna? It's very much a slow clap. But you know, the Sartrean example of, he's written this play called Huis Clos, Closed Doors, in which
people are in hell, is it that one?
Yeah, essentially that's where that expression of l'enfer c'est l'autre, which is basically hell is others, came in, where you were locked in hell. It wasn't called hell, actually. It was a room where you were locked in. You could not open it, though there was a door and a handle.
The writer's lounge?
Yeah, pretty much. I knew that. Took a little bit of time, but it came. The put down of the author's lounge, I tell you. Gee, self-deprecatory humor. But it is true. What he basically said is the banality of what we think of is hell. A telephone that rings but you can't pick up. A bed which you can't sleep in even though you're tired because it doesn't have anything. It's just a... so it's... I think the existential crisis that Sartre talked about is is the everyday nature of it, which is the scary part. I think that's important to remember, isn't it? I mean,
absolutely.
So, yeah.
And he honestly, if I'm allowed, any Sartre fans in the audience can fuck off. Almost deliberately obfuscates his novel. It's so irritating to read Being and Nothingness and be like, oh, get lost. Is there an animated version of this I can watch?
I think the power he exercises that we feel very self-congratulatory in having read something that we need
If you read Being and Nothingness, you're a better man than I do.
Well.
How many failed attempts? No
I think
chance.
we've got time for one. Oh yeah, there's a question.
Hello, sir. I recognize you.
Yes.
You were at the Hindu Lit Fest as well.
Yes, I was.
All right.
He's a follower.
Yes.
I'm a stalker at this point.
No, it's just two. The third one will be weird. This one is still cool.
I'll see you there.
See you there.
Find you. So you use comedy as a conduit, and you're sincerely to talk about depression and to talk about the meaninglessness of life. And you use comedy as a conduit for these themes, right? For these very sometimes hard to talk about themes. Is there something specific about these themes that makes them more compatible to be used with comedy, or it's just comedy in the tone of how you do things, so whatever you talk about, it is going to be there? Or is it something about these themes particularly that makes comedy more likely to be used and better fitted?
Honestly, great question. Super impressed by the questions. Okay, so far, really good. Great job. What it says about me, I think it says something about me as a person. Maybe I'm just like a miserable piece of shit. That these are the only things that occur to me whenever I sit down to make something. Answer is twofold, even though you had only one question. One is, these are the places that could most use to be examined under a little sunshine, if that's possible, through stand-up, which is the only way you can do it. That I'll say one. Second, it's my personal desire to reduce the weight of these things as they impose on me and my life personally. And third thing is that now, after having done two specials in the same vein of going very deep inside and trying to open wounds publicly, I have found that it's very heartening how much of your ugliness you share with other people. And I think if I can do that to whatever degree, it's worth it. I used to be kind of frightened about it. Well, this novel is even a bigger window into how I think. And it was honestly a little frightening to put yourself and make yourself so accessible. However, the response I get, and I've been doing this for so long, it should really be obvious, is that everyone suffers in kind of the same way. And if you have a niche way of suffering, Congos, but the more people reveal that side of themselves to you, the more at least you don't feel like you are alone in your predicament. And if you're not alone in your predicament and you're laughing about it, what better way? Great cue, bro.
Yeah, it takes a joke to change the world, isn't it? That's the line, isn't it?
Also takes the world to change a joke.
Or maybe just one bad one. Or maybe a comment on the... oh, yeah.
Change
That-
your
yeah.
mood for the remainder of the day.
One quick question, actually. 3 minutes and counting.
We have 3 minutes and 38 seconds. Lot of pressure on your question.
Okay.
No pressure.
Good job, Kanan.
Everyone
not
else is
putting-
everyone else is looking at you like, better
Yeah.
be fucking good. Didn't take my question.
I'm an author myself.
Congratulations.
And I have. I am 70. I've read like first 76 pages of your book, and
Okay.
it's mind-boggling and has a lot of twists and turns. So while reading, I was curious: did your first draft have more complexity and imagination, and you kind of dumbed it down or simplified it for us, or your initial draft was simpler and you added layers of
Great question. I think dumbing down is the wrong
simplified?
phrase.
Simplifying.
She said it, not me. Not me. She said it. I think you guys are very smart. No, but it's important, especially writing a novel of this nature, which takes place and has a lot of new concepts to be introduced, is often I found things were not as well explained as they were to me. And these concepts are close to mine. So this is very good feedback I got from editors, saying, I don't understand what this is. And many changes I made, quality of life improvements I call them, that they don't really change the plot, but they explain a concept. I'll add a paragraph to explain something better. Many changes I've pushed back on, saying, let people figure this out in chapter 5. It's okay if they don't know it right now. There's a lot of complexity that was actually disguised as self-indulgent disguise, which had to go. But a lot of complexity I also kept because I have faith in you as a reader. And if you read 76 pages, you are over the first mountain.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for your question.
And of course,
We have 1 minute 40 seconds.
1 minute 45 seconds. Kanan, it's been absolutely wonderful.
It has been my pleasure, Sarthak.
And the book is called...
Oh shit, I didn't
Acts
read
of
anything
God.
from the book.
Yeah.
Can I quickly...
Yeah,
Fuck.
yeah. You have the timer in front of you, so
I
no
have
pressure.
1 minute. Let me read from the book. Send me on Instagram.
Really? Yeah? Oh, okay. You want to
Okay.
stand and read?
Sure.
There's a... yeah.
I was just
lecture,
going to read
yeah.
like for 30 seconds. but
And, yeah.
Check.
Okay.
Thank you so much. My fellow students, respected teachers, honorable judges. Okay, I'm beginning. I'm just reading you a little excerpt. This is the starting of chapter 2. Okay? If you have a book, you don't need to read along with me. There is no test. Amongst other things, this story is about pain. Most things are about pain, but it can be hard to tell. Despite its dominant role in global politics, pain keeps its name out of the papers. Pain is the shadow cabal that controls the world. Pain is the axle grease for Earth's rotation. Pain is the pendulum and the bong of the doomsday clock. Tick-tock. Unlikely headline. Leader advocates increasing military spending because he is in pain. The establishment of the no pain, no gain orthodoxy ensured the integration of pain into the capitalist ethic. Whereas some other economic structures just ended up with no gain and only pain. Economists will tell you this anomaly is Gaines' own fault, and sociologists will tell you that they are in pain. In this insidious way, pain writes itself into our lives as a necessity. Got it. It's the last paragraph. In this insidious way, pain writes itself into our lives as a necessity, as a backlight through which we see our outlines. Pain shows us our shape, pain defines us and our extremities. How much can you take? How much will you give? So far, this chapter is a pain. Thank you very much.
Kanan Gill, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure we can get a little more enthusiastic about what he's just done.
Subscribe to Oneindia channel and never miss an update.